Hello, I'm Orhan Gaybov. You're watching English news program on Azərbaycan Televiziya. President İlham Əliyev signed an executive order to allocate funding for the restoration and conservation of the Məmləkətin tomb, a historical and architectural monument of global importance located in the city of Naxçıvan. According to the executive order, the Cabinet of Ministers of the Naxçıvan Autonomous Republic is initially allocated 1 million manat from the reserve fund of the President of Azerbaijan. On the occasion of Independence Day, congratulatory letters continue to be sent to President İlham Əliyev. The Director General of ISESCO, Salim bin Mohammed Al-Malik, has sent congratulatory letter to President İlham Əliyev. Azerbaijan can always be counted on. The foreign media covering the informal summit of the heads of state of the Organization of Turkic States specifically highlighted this point. President İlham Əliyev's visit to Budapest was extensively covered. It was noted that Hungary-Azerbaijan relations are developing and its friendly character is highly appreciated.
In the current international political situation, reliable partners are even more valuable. This view was stated in the Hungarian media. The Hungarian media extensively covered the informal summit of the heads of state of the Organization of Turkic States. It was noted that the organization is gradually becoming an important player when it comes to political and economic relations of the Central Asia and Eurasian regions. The article published in the Magyar Nemzet newspaper featured with the headline "East and West Meet in Hungary." It was stated that Azerbaijan and Hungary supported peace. Index.hu and Nepsava websites further elaborated that the energy security of Hungary is possible thanks to the strong partners like Azerbaijan. Referencing Prime Minister Viktor Orban, it was stressed that the first Azerbaijani gas was delivered to Hungary last year and this cooperation was further expanding. Manziner publication underlined that Viktor Orban, who is criticizing the policy of the European Union, specifically emphasized the economic and geopolitical ties with Azerbaijan. The Turkish media also extensively covered the Budapest summit. AzTV and Haber Global TV channels widely covered President İlham Əliyev's visit to Hungary and the informal summit of the heads of state of the Organization of Turkic States. The importance of the summit and prospects of cooperation between the participating states were touched upon. Anadolu Agency also covered President İlham Əliyev's speech at the summit. Daily Sabah, in its turn, dwelt on the significance of further cooperation between the member states of the organization.
Yesterday, the resettlement convoy has reached the city of Khojaly and the village of Ballıca. In this phase, a total of 34 people have been relocated, 1 family to the city of Khojaly and 8 families to Ballıca. The families have been presented with the keys to their new homes, including yesterday's resettlement. A total of 180 families comprising 840 people have returned to Ballıca village and 86 families comprising 346 people have returned to the city of Khojaly. The trial on the criminal case against Arayik Harutyunyan and others charged with committing numerous crimes as a result of the military aggression of Armenia against Azerbaijan continues. During the court session held on May 22nd, the victims provided their testimonies.
The citizens of Armenia who once led the so-called regime established by Armenia in the Azerbaijan's occupied territories and who are now charged with having committed numerous crimes against Azerbaijan and the people of Azerbaijan are now confessing in the court. Defendant Arkady Gukasyan admitted that while they kept the sovereign territories of Azerbaijan under the occupation, different management practices were applied in the so-called regime. They created the defense army of the so-called regime in the summer of 1992. The first commander of the army was Serge Sarkisyan, who was followed by Samvel Babayan. In 1992, the commanders of the so-called regime were appointed by the parliament. He added that from that point on, these issues were regulated by Armenia, because Karen Baburyan and Robert Kacharyan, who were leading the so-called regime, appealed to the leadership of Armenia to provide security guarantees until the conflict is solved. From that point on, the leader of the military entity was appointed after the agreement was Yerevan. The issues were agreed with the leadership of Armenia. A video footage confirming Armenia's responsibility for the security guarantees of the so-called regime was presented in the court. Signing the agreement, former president of Armenia, Levon Ter-Petrosyan, said this was classified information. Defendant Arkady Gukasyan confirmed the facts presented in the video. He noted that this took place in 1993, following the occupation of Azerbaijan's Kalbajar district. At the time, the UN Security Council adopted a resolution on the withdrawal of the troops from the territories of Azerbaijan. Armenia finally understood that it is mandatory to implement the UN Security Council resolutions and the liabilities stemming from that. Arkady Gukasyan admitted that leaders of Armenia and the so-called regime participated at that meeting. The leadership of Armenia provided full security guarantees. That document was signed by the former president of Armenia, Levon Ter-Petrosyan, Karen Baboryan, who was acting as the Speaker of the Parliament of the so-called regime, and Chair of the Defense Committee, Robert Kacharyan.
This year, due to the observance of Eid al-Adha, there will be 4 consecutive non-working days. According to the Cabinet of Ministers, since June 7 falls on Saturday, June 9 will be considered a non-working day in accordance with the Labor Code. As June 8 falls on a Sunday, there will be 4 consecutive non-working days for Eid al-Adha, June 6, 7, 8, and 9. The Council of Qadis of the Caucasus Muslims Board had issued a fatwa regarding Eid al-Adha, based on a letter from the Shamakh Astrophysical Observatory, and in accordance with the sighting of the crescent moon on the Azerbaijani horizon, Eid al-Adha will fall on June 6 according to the Gregorian calendar. That was all for the day. Thank you for being with us. Goodbye.